Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club podcast, where every month we deep dive into a different aspect of film. Director, actor, genre, or franchise, whatever it is, it's always fun at the Film Club. I'm Dean.
I'm Boo.
And this month we're talking about
Musicals.
And this week we are talking about
The Gentlemen Prefer Blondes.
Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Do they? Do they really?
I don't know, do you?
I'm a fan of the dark-haired kind of girls.
Brunette?
Yeah, those ones.
Okay.
But yeah, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, starring Marilyn Monroe, starring Jane Russell, directed by Howard Hawks. This is a movie with one of the most iconic sequences in film.
Yes.
And it's probably a movie where everyone's seen Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, but not many people have actually seen the whole movie.
Haven't seen the movie or haven't seen the sequence itself, because it's a popular song.
It's a popular, phrase, right?
Yeah.
But I'm kind of fascinated by this movie.
Are you?
A little bit, because, it's a movie it's a musical, right?
Yes.
There's, 5, 6 musical numbers in the movie? There's not, that many.
No, it's not it's back to back to back. It's no, we actually have storyline, musical number, storyline.
And it fits really interesting here, because we just finished talking about Sound of Music, we did Singing in the Rain before that, where they are music, again, every 5-10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
There's an hour of this where there's just no musical number. Or 45 minutes. It's a lot of space in between. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about this one.
Because this is your first watch, right?
This is. I've seen, again, Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. I've seen that sequence a couple of times, but I've never seen the whole movie. I actually had no idea the context of what the movie was actually about.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was
Marilyn
Monroe movie. I didn't really see or know that Jane Russell was in it. I haven't really seen any Jane Russell movies. This might be the only one.
Yeah.
And I was always well, is it they're competing in this musical thing? Is that what it is? But we'll get into what the movie's about in a second. But this was your pick.
Yes.
Why'd you pick it? When was the last time you watched it? First time you watched it? Opening thoughts.
I picked it because it's not like Singing in the Rain, where it's a lot of, action back to back to back, but it's one of these big Hollywood musicals, and it just, the vibrant colors, the dance numbers, the sequences, I'm this is very Hollywood, and not too many people have seen it, and I wanted to kind of bring, life back into it, because, like you had said earlier, people know the song, or they've seen the Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend sequence.
They know the Monroe look from the movie.
They know the Monroe look, but it's Jane Russell gives such a good performance in this movie, so does Marilyn, and it's just, this friendship, and it's so funny, even though, serious things happen in the movie.
Yeah, but it's a thing where it's there's serious things going on in the movie, but it never takes itself seriously.
No.
It's through and through a comedy.
Yeah, it's a comedy, a musical comedy. The last time I saw this was maybe a few years ago. I try not to watch this because I don't like ruining movies that I really love.
It's one of those things where you can get burned out, especially on musicals.
Yeah. Because
you can get a song stuck in your head, and you play that song in your head a million times, and you kind of get sick of it.
Yeah. But the first time I saw this was, I think, in high school. This was when I was really living off of Turner Classic Movies,
mm-hmm.
and my mom introduced me to this, and it was my first Marilyn Monroe movie, because everyone knows who Marilyn Monroe is, but once you finally see her in a movie, it's she's not just a beautiful woman, she's a very talented woman.
She's kind of an anomaly if you really look at the breadth of her career, right?
Yeah.
Because, we're going to get into Marilyn Monroe, but I want to, let's give everybody the back of the box before we get ahead of ourselves.
Let's do it.
So, for those who have never seen Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and want to know the gist of what happens, we got the box here. Dorthy and Lorelei are a pair of cabaret singers and best friends who try to navigate the crazy road of love to find a man to marry. Lorelei is engaged to the son of a wealthy businessman and is whisked off to France for the wedding. But when her fiancé can't accompany her, Dorthy tags along as a chaperone until they meet again in Paris. But Lorelei is now on the lookout for a suitor for Dorthy and maybe a richer man to steal her heart. As they cross the Atlantic, Dorthy becomes enthralled with Malone, who is secretly a detective sent to tail Lorelei and make sure she stays true on her trip. Once they arrive in France, Dorthy and Lorelei become accused as thieves. Dun dun dun. That when the drama shows up.
Yes, it does.
Due to a misunderstanding between a diamond mogul and Lorelei, who Mr. Piggy is a can of worm we'll get into.
Yes, we will.
But with Malone's help and clever thinking by Dorothy, the two clear their names just in time for their now double wedding. Aww. But yeah, the plot of the movie's pretty, like, 1, 2, 3. We're out in 90, which this is like the perfect length for this kind of movie. 90 minutes in and out, doesn't take too long.
Doesn't drag.
You're just vibing.
Yeah, this movie has really great pacing. You don't feel like, ooh, this could have been cut, or man, the scene is just going. No, it's just, you start it, and then it ends, and it's like, really?
It's very economical. It's Howard Hawks, we talked about him in The Awful Truth.
The
Big Sleep. He is one of the most, like, economical, like, by-the-books, chameleon-like directors. He can do any genre. This pretty much convinces me that he can do kind of anything. He invented the screwball comedy with Bringing Up Baby, Awful Truth. Mm-hmm. He basically solidified, like, the stereotypical noir with The Big Sleep. He's doing a big, Broadway-esque musical of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes here. Like, the guy had range.
Yeah, and I mean, this movie itself was also kind of an anomaly, because this was one of the first movies based off of a Broadway play, and it was an issue where, I guess, Lorelei was played by Carol Channing in the play, and when they made this movie, they didn't even consider bringing her on.
Well, they didn't even consider Marilyn Monroe, from my understanding. I think they wanted Judy Holliday.
Yeah, they wanted her, and even Judy Holliday was like, I think this belongs to Carol Channing, not me. And then they brought in Marilyn Monroe, and even that was, an issue, because they didn't treat Marilyn so good on this movie.
Let's talk about that, because Marilyn Monroe has a very complicated career in history, right? Because she's a person who's considered an icon, right?
Yes.
But if you look at the breadth of her career, she's not in that many just banger out of the ballpark movies, right? It's like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Some Like It Hot, Gentlemen Prefer Blonde, 7-Year Itch, and
Niagara. That's another good movie.
You see when you start pulling, after you hit like the big 3, it gets kind of hard to pull some more out, right?
Monkey Business with Cary Grant. That's another really good movie. I think that was also by Howard Hawks too.
It wouldn't surprise me, but I bring it up because with a lot of these stars, these big stars that have just transcended generations, like your Bogarts, your Brandos, they're in like hundreds of movies, right? Or they're in a bunch of them, and it's just like, well, the sheer wealth of their acting career makes it worth it.
Yeah.
Or like a James Dean, where he made like 3 or 4 movies and
he made 3 movies, and that was it.
But the thing is, it was like he had so much promise, he was such a great actor. Monroe feels like she pegged onto a cultural zeitgeist that just wasn't ready yet.
Yeah.
Because she was kind of the first, like, big Hollywood, like, bombshell that Hollywood, like, produced and sent out to the masses, right?
But didn't know what to do with her.
Yeah, I mean, we could get into a whole different discussion on the crazy life of Marilyn Monroe. Yeah. But I'm curious about this. Her in the movie, she's a type, right?
Yeah, she's
the breathy blonde. Like, what's a little old girl like me with double D cups doing in a place like this? Like,
sure,
she's like a type of actress, right?
Yes.
So is she a great actress? Is she like a James Dean, where a lot of promise died too soon, or is she this kind of like Elvis, who was a product of this pop culture machine that's just been perpetuated? I know, big questions to start off the episode with, right? Evaluate Marilyn Monroe's icon status.
I think it's a yes and no. I mean, I think once you see like Niagara, you really see the range of her acting. But I think she just had to deal with so much crap in Hollywood that it really kind of burned out her star a little bit. Because, I mean, this movie, Jane Russell was paid $200,000 for it, and Marilyn was paid $500 a week for it.
Yeah,
and it's just like, Jane Russell went on to have a career and a musical career as well, and it's like we don't know what Marilyn would have done next, but it's just this is Marilyn Monroe and you want to throw $500 at her a week when she's the star of the movie?
Well, to combat that idea, because this is in 53.
Yeah.
And she wasn't, like, a huge star yet. Like, she was big, but she wasn't, like, headliner, like, just yet. Because, again, I think she hits her peak in Some Like It Hot when she is, like, max star power, and that's in, like, 59, 57.
Yeah, I'm not sure when Some Like It Hot comes out.
But I think that's my thinking.
7-Year Itch.
7-Year Itch. Like, but those, I think, come after Jennifer Prefer Blondes. So I'm thinking, this is on her way up. Jane Russell's probably the bigger star here. And it's just one of those things where every time I look at Marilyn Monroe, I'm like, okay, I get it. You are, like, the sex symbol of this old school classic Hollywood, iconography. Like, you have an aesthetic, you have a style that has just been parodied and carried over, but I've always wondered if she was a great actress or not, because, again, I've only ever seen her in, like, 3 movies.
Yeah.
But I think I figured it out. She's a great comedian.
Yes, she's very funny.
I think that's the key here, because she did, like, The Method and all this other stuff. She was really big into trying to become a great actress. She was a way better just being, like, easily funny. Like, she's a great comedic person. I don't know if she can do Shakespeare, but if she can get a laugh out of, I think, anybody.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, one of my favorite parts in the movie is at the end when she speaks to her fiancé's father, and they're having this whole discussion about how she's, just in for it for the money, and, she goes on and she gives this speech, and she's like, well, no, I'm in it for your money. I love him, but I want your money at the end of the day. And she explains why, because, well, if you had a daughter, wouldn't you rather she be with, a man that has a good job and can take care of her? You wouldn't want her with a poor man. And
man, you're pretty smart for a girl.
No, that's when he goes, say, I thought you were stupid. And I was like, that's one of my favorite quotes from the movie, because he just catches her off guard. And then she goes, basically I forget what the quote is, but more or less, I am smart, but men don't prefer that. And it's like, she's good, she can play this whole,
She has great delivery.
Great delivery. She could play the doe-eyed, innocent character, I'm just pretty and, I don't have too many thoughts in my head, but I'm pretty. And it's like, no, girl's got it. She's, she's on the ball.
Oh, yeah, no, she's got game.
She does.
And I think that's the thing. Like, the Monroe persona, I think, is overshadowed the Monroe performer. Because her as an actual, like, actress and thespian and all that stuff, she's really, really good in these very comedic roles. And I think that's the thing that people don't, like, remember her so well for. They're like, well, she never had, like, a big dramatic run. She never had, like, the Meryl Streep performance. She never had a Katharine Hepburn performance.
No, because she was, the sex symbol, and that's what people focused on. And it's like, no, she has talent. She can give a great performance. She's got great delivery. She could sing. That was an issue with her and with Jane Russell. They wanted to dub both of their voices in the movie. And it's like, why? They're both very talented. But that's, some of the hiccups that they faced in the making of this movie, where it's just like, you've got 2 really good actors here. Trust your actors.
And speaking of trusting the actors here, right? We talked about Monroe, right? There's a whole can of worms there, and it's a double-edged sword, right?
Double-edged sword, fascinating life.
Very fascinating, but she was second billed here. Jane Russell is the lead.
Yeah.
What are the merits of Jane Russell as your leading lady in this movie? Because you have Jane Russell, and you have her standing next to Marilyn Monroe, right? Yeah. And Marilyn Monroe is one of those people who's, like, kind of a Steve McQueen, where no matter what they're doing, your eyes are just kind of, like, drawn to them. Like,
I mean, especially how they wanted to keep her the only blonde in the movie. And she was very much, I'm going to be the only blonde in the movie. And it works, because if you look around, nobody else is blonde in this movie. And it makes her that much more...
a standout, way more poppy in every scene.
She just catches your eye. If it's not her hair, it's her clothing. I mean, the costuming is so beautiful in this movie.
Well, we don't get into costuming here. Oh, Lord. Oh, man. There's some costumes in here where I'm a
little hot under the collar?
Oh, Lord. Yeah, but the Jane Russell thing, how does she come off to you in the movie?
Oh, I love her.
Oh, I think she's a great wise ass. She's a perfect foil to Monroe. I'm wondering why they never made more movies together. Because they seem like almost like the Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon of like women actresses.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
This feels like the female end of Some Like It Hot almost.
yeah, that was a couple of interviews that I had read from Jane Russell and Marilyn Monroe, where they both said that they enjoyed working with each other. I don't know if it's just a thing, I don't know what studios they were also billed to, so who knows, it could have just been like this lightning in a bottle, where these two finally came together.
They
and
were both at Fox at one for like a month or whatever,
yeah,
and this came in.
And it, it was this amazing product that came out, and then maybe they went back to their, studios that they have licenses with or contracts with, and it just never happened. But yeah, there's plenty of reviews where they enjoyed working with each other, and I think Jane Russell really took care of Marilyn on the set, because it's just, she kind of went through the ringer making this movie. Howard Hawks kind of had issues with her because Marilyn's the kind of actress where she can do it in a take, but she wants to take multiple takes just in case she can do it better another time. And Howard Hawks is very much...
She was very self-conscious about her work.
Yeah, and he was just like, no, I'm good with a one and done, and we're out onto the next scene.
Wait, it really makes you kind of think about it, because Howard Hawks, he does come off as kind of this like workman-like director who... He works in all these different genres, and the movie here really is structured kind of like perfectly. But the thing that always like that kind of irks me about Howard Hawks' style is he's almost styleless. Yeah. You know how like a lot of like film people talk about the auteur, where it's like, oh, Hitchcock, this shot, obviously, it's Hitchcock, how he frames things. Oh, he goes like 5 minutes without a single line of dialogue. He's trying to do it all visually. Or like, oh, Spielberg, oh, there's this like nice lens flare, and like, oh, there's a little bit of shaky camera and it's moving around. Like, there's
David Lynch, the scene continues even though...
the scenes drag out for very long periods of time. There's very little cutting sometimes. But with Hawks films, I'm almost like, bruh, there's like almost nothing here. Like, It is fascinating that his whole auteurist aesthetic is that he has no aesthetic.
I think it's just his versatility. Because, I mean, I've seen this movie for years. And, granted, I'm learning more about directors on this podcast. I'm more just, a movie and actors person. I don't really get into the lives of the directors. And, once I saw it for the research, I was like, holy shit, The Big Sleep. We just talked about that. But, yeah, I think he's just so versatile that he's able to do these movies, and he does this flawlessly, and you don't know who the director is.
Yeah.
There's no tell, like you were saying, like a Hitchcock or a Lynch.
Yeah, there's no shot, there's no sequence, there's no line, there's no like little wink at the audience being like, guys, like you know what's going on. It's a fascinating chameleon-like thing that a director can do.
Yeah.
But where did you want to go from here?
Let's see, we were talking about Jane Russell,
Monroe, Hawks. The three big ones, right?
The big ones. We could talk a little bit about Lorelei's fiancé in the movie. Just to show, the polar opposites when you think of this woman and all the men that are just, drooling over her. And she's engaged to Mr. Esmond.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up because she's engaged to Gus Esmond Jr., played by Tommy Noonan, and there's this old school Hollywood genre, the Gold Digger movie, right? Where it's like, oh, these two women, they're competing to try and win the heart of a rich man to take him out of the slums, right? It's an old school genre, tried and true. In this, it's almost like a parody or a satire of that, to where they're like, oh, why are you marrying him? For his money. And she's just so upfront about it. And it's so, like, it's kind of, like, refreshing, and it's really funny.
It's refreshing, but, it's also telling that she's not just one of those girls from the other movies, with the, I want your money, not his money. It's like, she's like, no, I'm legitimately in love with him, but the fact that you have money and he's gonna inherit, it's just gonna, make my life that much better.
She's like, I mean, it's gravy,
Yeah, it's gravy. And then, you have Dorothy, on the other hand, who's, she's into attractive men, and who cares if they don't, have money? It's, attraction, and it's emotion, and Lorelei's very much...
I mean, I could argue if it's emotionally involved.
No, but I mean, they talk about people of the past where she's like, you've dated guys with practically no money, and Dorothy's like, that doesn't matter to me. And that's what Lorelei, Lorelei's more on the, I want comfort and security, and you have Dorothy that's the, I want to have a good time, but I also want to be with somebody that, makes me happy, that I have actual feelings for.
And I think that's fascinating because that's like the thesis of the movie. It's love versus security.
Yeah.
And I had a little issue with the ending because I felt like the movie never took a hard stance on that. Because usually you come up with these like vice versa, theses in your movies where, oh, these two people, they're trying to achieve the same goal, find a man, be married, and be happy, right? But both of them have different viewpoints, and usually by the end of the movie, the one that has the true right one, the director's like, well, that's the one that succeeded, the other one failed. In this one, they both succeed. They both get married at the end. They're both happy. They're both like side-eyeing each other. Like,
at the altar.
At the altar, being like, hey, honey, they didn't sign no prenup. Like that's what I feel, and I'm like, is there gonna be like a sequel to this?
No,
is it like Blondes in Peru, where they just gallivant and like fall over the middle?
I think the side eye is more like, we finally did it. We finally found people that we want to spend the rest of our lives with.
These two girls from Little Rock finally made it.
From Little Rock, and surprisingly, for a movie with such a big song as "Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend," "Two Girls from Little Rock" is the song that gets stuck in my head more often than not.
Oh, it's one of the best songs in the movie.
And I think that song's from the original play. I think that one and Diamonds and another one is from the original play, I believe.
It might be Bye Bye or
Bye Bye Baby, yeah.
Bye Bye Baby. There's also the Olympics ones where it's like, is anyone looking for love?
That's a great song, great sequence. I think we should talk about that because we have the U.S. men's Olympic team that's on
the cruise ship.
The cruise ship. I was going to say the yacht. I'm like, that's not right. But, I think it's fascinating that they kind of tied in something that is historically accurate. You might see the Olympic team on there and just how magnetic Dorothy and Lorelei are, where, everyone's looking at them as they're getting onto the ship because, of course, they're beautiful women and beautiful clothing. But, with a snap of the fingers, Dorothy's able to pull together a party in their stateroom. And it's all the Olympic guys and other girls in the ship. And it's just like, damn, Dorothy, I want to hang out with you. You seem like a good time.
I mean, Dorothy strikes me as the kind of, okay. This movie, I feel like both these women's got one goal, and that's fuck bitches, make money. These two women are straight up gangsters out there. They are slaying ass left and right. If they wanted it, they can get it.
And this is a 50s movie, so you're not going to see any of that. You're just going to see parties. We get the anyone looking for love scene where, it's entirely in like the gymnasium section of the cruise.
Oh, lordy.
And I mean, it's like, really good job from, I'm assuming they're gymnasts, dancers, probably a mix.
I would imagine so. I wanted to talk about that sequence because, that sequence, kicks in and that's Jane Russell's like big song.
That's her moment.
Right? And it's going on, I'm like, oh, this is like a really fun scene or whatever.
It's very cheeky.
It's very cheeky. And as I'm watching it, and I'm like, wow, that is a lot of barely clothed grown men.
Yeah.
And then they start doing they're bending over, doing these weird stretches, and I'm like, how the fuck this get past the censors? That one...
Because she didn't use the rackets on them.
Was that... Wait, what? Is that like a thing?
Well, because you see she's walking through the rows of guys, she's got
and she is inches away from just straight spanking all these dudes with a racket.
So that's why I'm like, that's probably how they got away with it, because she's just walking back and forth. She's not doing anything provocative in the scenes. If she is looking at somebody, she's looking at a guy's bicep.
Honey. She is being very provocative in this entire movie.
But this isn't like movies today where it's like, there is nothing to leave any imagination to. In this movie, it's very tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah. I mean, look, tongue-in-cheek is one thing, but like, I'm just saying, there's a few parts in this movie where I'm side-eyeing it, and I'm like, you are inches away from being like having this whole sequence cut out. Like, every time Marilyn Monroe walks in, and I'm like, how low is that cut on her dress? My God. What? It's like the gold dress.
The gold dress. Yeah, I mean, it's her back. So,
Mhm.
I mean, it'd be very different if it was the front that was that cut. I mean, that's something you see now, with people going to award shows, and it's like, you're practically wearing nothing. But, I mean, with that, it's the back of her dress. But that entire sequence, I think my favorite part is when Dorothy gets knocked into the water.
I laughed at that one. I thought that was like a really well set up gag.
It wasn't. It was an accident.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She wasn't supposed to go into the water, but when she, crouches down so the guys can jump over her into the water, the guy really does catch her in the neck with his knee and takes her into the water. But it just shows the professionalism of Jane Russell, where they pull her out of the water and she's still singing, and they carry her and hand her a drink, so that wasn't scripted. They knocked her in, and Howard Hawks liked it enough that he was like, we gotta put this in the movie.
Oh, okay. And Howard Hawks, probably, rewrote the whole, last shot on the fly to keep it in.
It was probably like, you know what? That looks a lot better than just, her walking away and getting a drink. It's like, no, Dorothy gets chucked into the water, you drag her out, she's still singing and ready for another drink, let's go.
Again, there's so many good little sequences and numbers in the movie, but I think I mentioned this at the top. There is this weird thing about the movie where there's 45 minutes and it's just plot.
Yeah.
I forgot it was a musical. Because the movie starts, and it starts with, Little Rock, right?
Little Rock.
And it's like, okay, yeah, cabaret singers, big, cool, fun musical number.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like, bye, bye, my love, all that stuff.
Bye, bye, baby, yeah.
Bye, bye, baby. And then right after that, it's, anybody looking for love.
Mm-hmm.
And then plot.
Yeah.
It is this weird triangle with, Sir Francis Piggy and
Beekman, yes.
Yeah. Beekman and Lorelei and the wife and Dorothy and Malone. Mm-hmm. And it's very plotty, right? It's this very interesting, we're looking for love on the ship.
Yeah.
And we don't get another song until they're in France.
Yeah.
And I almost felt like that song when they're in France where it's, I don't even remember the song. It's, they're like, oh, love, whatever. They can't believe they kicked us out. Something like that. They get kicked out of the hotel. And I almost felt like
when love goes wrong, nothing goes right.
Exactly. When love goes wrong, nothing goes right. When they had that song, I almost felt like, was that just in there because you need to meet a quota, or did you just forget you needed to have more songs in this?
No, I mean, that was, there for the scene. I think in Europe, that song was cut out of the movie because they thought it was inappropriate that there was young boys there while they were singing and dancing. And I was just like...
Look, there's some shimmying that Jane Russell and Marilyn Monroe do that probably made those boys into men in that moment.
I mean, also being able to say, yeah, I was able to see Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell with my own eyes. That's, also kind of clout you hold for the rest of your life. But
I would think those boys remember the shimmying far more.
Oh, of course they do.
But speaking of kids in this movie, there's one actor who
yes.
I think is absolutely hilarious, and he's 8.
Yes, I didn't want to tell you about him. He's one of the best characters of the movie.
He also has the best line in the movie.
Yes, he does.
So I'm talking about Henry Spotfoot III, played by George Winslow. And he is supposed to be the heir apparent to this big oil thing, right?
Oil, I think so, and his family owns Pennsylvania, something.
Something huge.
We gotta lay down why he's so important to the storyline. So, Lorelei isn't looking for men on this cruise. She's looking for somebody for Dorothy because she wants Dorothy to settle down and be with somebody that's well off like her soon-to-be husband. And, Lorelei's going through the, what is it?
Oh, the shipping manifest. Or not, maybe not the shipping manifest, the, passenger list.
The passenger list. To see, what men are available. And, if it's a man with a valet, that means it's a man with money. And they find Henry Spofford III. And she's able to talk to the maitre d' of the restaurant there to kind of set them up where Henry Spofford III sits at their table with them every night at dinner so they can, just organically fall in love with each other.
I mean, maybe not that organically.
No, I mean, sometimes, love needs some help.
Yeah, sure. But, and then Henry Spofford III appears, sits down, and it's he's 8 years old. he's the heir apparent to this, and he's incredibly wealthy, and he's like, oh, I get to go around and, like, do whatever I want.
He has a very monotone voice, too.
He does. And there's a part in the movie when Lorelei, who, again, I do not think she's a very a faithful gal, if I were, because she is definitely trying to get Beekman to, like pay up or pay out kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, but it's even a thing before they go on the cruise, because she's supposed to go on the cruise with Gus.
Yeah.
And Gus is very, I don't want to say afraid of his father, but, you know, he's very...
spineless.
He's spineless, that's a good word. He's spineless, and he drops out of going on the cruise because Dad says no. Mm-hmm. And Dorothy goes with her to be her chaperone. But she also tells him, Dorothy, you know what? If he doesn't chase me to Europe and, you know, try to win me back, that's on him. I'm gonna move on. So it's not this thing where, you know, ooh, I'm a kept promise woman. It's like, you know, you want to be spineless and listen, you know, to what your dad has to say? I'll move on. It's okay.
I like how she is kind of matter of fact. Lorelei is fascinating because she is like almost a purely logical beast.
She's got all her cards on the table.
Yeah, but she gets caught with Malone catches Lorelei and Beekman in like the throes of a story about Africa and pythons strangling people. And,
yes, which results in, you know, him taking pictures through a porthole.
Yes, that looks very suspect. So Lorelei and Dorothy hatch a plan that Lorelei's going to sneak in while Dorothy distracts Malone, and she's going to like
steal the film.
But she accidentally gets locked in the room and tries to like get out through the porthole, but because, you know, Marilyn Monroe is a full-sized woman, guys. Like, hey.
In all the right places.
In all the right places, and she gets stuck in the window. And little Henry Spofford III comes over, and he's like, what are you doing? Are you a thief? And she's like, no, please, can you help me out? And he's like, I will for two reasons. One, it is my duty as a man. And two, because you have some strange animal magnetism. And
okay, I'm going to stop you right there.
Yes.
Your accent or your interpretations of Spofford...
Both their voices are awful.
Horrible. So
would you like to give it to?
No, I won't, because I can't do it, but just letting you know.
I know, I'm the voice guy, you know, the dumb voice guy in this podcast. I need to listen to it a few more times, you know. Now, Jimmy Stewart, I can pull out of the drop of a hat, but like, Spofford, he's new. He's new to me. But
you have to tap into, you know, 8-year-old Dean.
8-year-old Dean, you know, Pixie Sticks and Mortal Kombat. But it's one of the funniest things because, again, the movie is so tongue-in-cheek, and this kid he's a little kid. Like, It's not like, you know, oh, he might be like 16 playing a 14 or 13-year-old kind of thing. It's like, no, he's obviously like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And he throws out the whole, I'm also doing it because, you know, some strange animal magnetism. And it's like, this is one of those movies that is so sex-obsessed that it's barely under the surface. Oh, it is barely under the surface how horny this movie is.
It's, you know, also at the same time when they first meet him at that first dinner. And he sits there and they're both in shock that it's a child, it's not a man. And they're like, you know, oh, so, traveling alone, huh? And he goes, yeah, you know, I've got a teacher, I've got a trainer. I intend to have all 3 meals here every day, but I can't enjoy the beauty of a woman. And it's just like, little homie, like, calm your jets, man.
Nah, but he's a straight Chad right there.
Oh, yeah.
He's 8-year-olds. He's eyeballing Lorelei and Dorothy up and down. He's like...
Sitting in between Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell, yeah, that boy has more cred than any man.
But yeah, again, the movie is this fascinating little like time, like little capsule. Not a time capsule, but a little capsule of just very specific things that are going on in like Hollywood movies right now, right? Because it's so horny, but it can't really like be horny, right?
Yeah, it's a sexy movie. Yeah, it's a provocative movie.
Yeah, and it's
but not like, you know, like
you don't see anything obviously.
No, it's not
53.
Yeah, it's not inappropriate. It's just, you know, it's very cheeky. I love that scene where he helps her out of the porthole, but I love that scene even more when Piggy shows up and he gets under Spofford gets under the blanket to make it look like she's sitting on the railing. And you have Piggy take her hand and, you know, he's like, your soft, angelic baby hand,
Let go of my hand, damn it.
And you just say, stop that. And then she's like, excuse me, and she goes, laryngitis, sorry, it's acting up. And you have, Spofford that's just kind of like, why do you trust him? Do you not know that his intentions aren't honorable? And she's like, yeah, get me out of the porthole.
See, this is kind of like the rough part about the movie, right? Because there's so many little funny bits.
Yeah.
That it's difficult to talk about it without just being like, you guys just gotta watch it. Like, it is just funny.
Yeah, because, this is one of those movies that you could just sit there and quote, because there's so many quips in it. And it's like, I love, smart, witty banter. And in this movie, it's just loaded with it.
Yeah, a lot of it comes from Jane Russell, who is playing the biggest smart ass I think a woman was able to play in 1953. It is a lovely, lovely performance. But I wanted to ask you, because we're, again, musicals.
Yes. Favorite
number, favorite scene.
Okay, so probably favorite number is going to be Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, because,
the iconicness of it.
The iconicness of the scene, but just how grandiose the scene is. Because, this takes you back to, like, the Ziegfeld Folly days, where they're using women as, lighting fixtures, and there's just so much going on in the scenes. There's so many backup dancers. You have all the men dressed the same in the tuxedos.
It's also like the scene where you're like, oh, so this is where Madonna like birthed her career idea.
Absolutely. I don't think she birthed her career idea, but Material Girls is basically the music video is a rip of this movie.
Yeah.
But
this is the first time it's cemented Monroe as an icon. Like, it's this, and then in 7-Year Itch, where the dress and the train great, right? Like, those two images cement Monroe as the icon.
Did you know that Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, the scene was shot again later in CinemaScope?
Mm-hmm.
They were doing it for, like, the whole demonstration of, like, CinemaScope as a thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so they reshot it again, and I think it took them, like, 3.5 hours to reshoot the entire scene. And I was just
Jesus.
like, wow. That scene is just larger than life, and then you get it on CinemaScope. And then I guess years later, when she passed, they used that performance as part of her tribute.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so it's like, this big part of her career, this, shining moment, like, where you knock that homer out of the park.
The star-making performance.
Yes, this performance. And this scene is just, it's been used in so many music videos, movies. It's been paid tribute a lot. So
it's the sequence in the movie where everyone knows the sequence. Even if they don't know the movie, they know the sequence. It's like when you say somebody, third star to the right, straight on till morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, that's from Peter Pan. Some people know that phrase, but they don't know the movie.
Yeah.
And I really do think that Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend is the showstopper. It's the big flashy scene. If anybody looking for love is Jane Russell's big number, Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, that's Monroe's big number.
Yeah. But my favorite scene, again, it involves Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend.
Yeah.
But it's the court scene at the end of the movie where Jane Russell, or Dorothy, she dresses up just like Lorelei to go to court to try to plead her case, because Lorelei is accused of stealing Piggy's wife's tiara.
Yeah.
And, she's fighting them and saying, I don't have it, and when I did have it, it was given to me as a gift. And they're not...
It was hush-up money for don't tell my wife you and me are talking.
Yeah, I'm dancing with you every night when, oh, honey, I'm walking around the ship, I'm just getting some air.
Dancing on the ship. Out for air. Yeah, there's a lot of subtext going on.
I don't think
here.
They could see your quotations.
Yeah, there's a lot of subtext going on here.
But Dorothy decides that she's going to go down to the jailhouse or the courthouse dressed up as Lorelei. And Jane Russell puts on such a good performance imitating Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
And eventually she breaks out into song and dance at Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, wearing the most revealing costume.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
but,
Lord.
because by this point, they're in France. The first line, in Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend is, the French are glad to die for love.
Mm-hmm.
And, seeing these two women, that would stop anybody in their tracks because they're gorgeous. but all the men, the deputies that are working in the court, even the judge, everyone is just, like a big stakes in front of, like, oh my god, and she breaks out into song and dance, and all the deputies of the court, they start dancing and they start clapping with her. It turns into a whole party scene.
Turns into a straight hoedown.
Even the defense attorney that's there to, push charges because she stole the tiara. Even he's kind of like, oh wow, look at her.
I love it because then the judge jumps in. He's like, stop it. Everybody stop dancing and singing. What's wrong with you people? And I'm like...
As he's dabbing the sweat from his forehead.
Yeah, and I love that because that's... I think that is my favorite scene in the movie as well. Because it's just this... It is peak absurdity of this movie. Because the movie, it is a comedy. It falls a lot into like the screwball comedies of like, Hawks is known for. But... in that moment, it's like, it almost is like a Mel Brooks era gag where he's like, why are you all singing and dancing? Like, is this normal? Is this normal for everyone here? And they're like, what? Wait. It's weird for you?
It's like we've broken the third wall.
Yeah, or fourth wall.
Fourth wall, sorry.
Yeah.
We've broken the fourth wall, and we finally have someone, wait, we're in a musical? I didn't know that.
You're like, we stopped singing for 45 goddamn minutes. We're in a musical? I thought we were in a courtroom drama now. But I think that is, like, by far one of the best scenes in the movie. It is my favorite. And I'm happy to know it's yours as well.
Yeah. But what's your favorite musical number? Or is it tied with this?
The thing is like, okay, Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend is, like, definitely the showstopper. It's probably the best... It's the showstopper. It's the most impressive song in the movie. I think the best song is Bye Bye.
Bye Bye Baby?
Bye Bye Baby. Mostly because it comes like really early. It's really fun, and
it feels like
it's
musical
a group effort.
Musicals
too.
Of those time where you've got maybe these people you don't really know, but all of a sudden they're singing with you. Everyone knows the same song.
Yeah, I really liked that one because it was also. It also helps set up a lot of story and things like that, and it was a very economical song because we get the sense of Lorelei and Gus's relationship. We get the sense of Dorothy as a character. We get this. It sets up a lot. I think that was my favorite song of the movie. But that was my favorite song. But goddamn, Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend is like an undeniable like banger.
Yeah.
But where else did we want to go? Where else did we want to go?
I think we have to talk about costumes. Because I mean this movie, sets are beautiful, the costumes are beautiful.
The women are beautiful.
The women are beautiful. It's a beautiful movie all around. But the costumes were designed by William Trevia. I'm not too versed with him, but apparently he was Marilyn Monroe's costume designer for 8 of her movies.
Okay, so I did a little bit of research on Monroe, and yeah, he did her costumes for almost all of her movies. Like those two just got along really well. Sorry.
He did the white dress for the 7-Year Itch, the one where the steam grate,
most famous dress in cinema.
Yes, one of the most famous dresses. I'm pretty sure it's 8 of her films.
Yeah, I mean we're getting into the weeds, but yeah, the costuming in this movie is
breathtaking.
Yeah, no, the women in those dresses are breathtaking, let's be honest.
That too, yes.
I think the key about the costumes in this movie, and especially, what was his name again? Treville?
Trevia. William Trevia.
Okay, Trevia's, I think the key he was very, very good at was making the women in the dresses either, like, smokehouse hot, or was able to play down certain attributes to make like censorship work.
Yeah.
Because again, Monroe and Russell are very, very beautiful in this movie. They really fill out those dresses, and it's almost like how did you get through censors like this? And I'm like, well, it's probably because the costume guy knows exactly how to the inch he can give these women and still make it like, work. I know I'm like really obsessively referring to the fact that how this gets past censors. Guys, you gotta watch this movie. This movie was made in 1953. Eisenhower was president. I don't know. Watch the movie.
This movie's turning 70 this year.
Oh, yeah. The 53, 2023.
Yeah, this August it's going to turn 70 years old. I mean, a 70-year-old movie, it still lives up. It doesn't feel dated in the sense where, like, the banter or the comedy.
It aged so well. Because Beekman, Piggy, he would be, like, in any other, like movie of this era, he would be incredibly problematic.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you own a diamond mine in South Africa? Oh, you're running around with your wife?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally screams like 2023, totally non-problematic character. But I think because they know how much of a buffoon everyone in the movie is, and also, I kind of want to bring this up, this is like a pretty, like, pro-feminist kind of movie.
Very.
Because, I want to speak out of turn because, hashtag, fucking neckbeard white dudes over here. But, like, the women in the movie, they are not the victims. They're like ogled. Like, every guy in the movie is like, yo, look, you see those two? God damn, you see how fucking stacked those two are? But they're like, yeah, we know we're hot. We use that, Like, I think in the movie, they, Dorothy goes up to Lorelei and it's like, hey, you're gonna need to get that money back to get, you're gonna need to get some money to pay for the tiara if you can't find it.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh no, how much is that gonna be? Oh, about $1,500. And she's like,
no, it's 15,000.
She's like, oh, that's gonna be like $15,000. And she's like, oh, that's about hour 45. I can get that about an hour 45. And I'm like, honey, like, Jesus, how good are you in the sack to get 15 grand in an hour 45?
Well, apparently that good,
I guess.
But in this movie, it's just, Lorelei knows how to network to get to men that are, wealthy.
Yeah.
It's not a thing where, she's really using her body. It's just, no, she's using her brain with,
She has weaponized her body. She's weaponized her looks.
Oh, yeah. But it's not a thing where it's like, I have to do some things I probably shouldn't do. It's more, no, I can spot, a guy with a lot of money, and I'm so cute that I can get him to fall in love with me.
Ah, so that was your play. I see how it is.
Yeah, weren't you working in a comic book shop a couple days a week when we first met?
I was very poor, yes.
So yeah, clearly I'm not in it for the money.
Yeah, she just thought I was richer than I actually was. But the thing is with the movie that is just so, like interesting about that is, like, the, weaponized sexuality, they've weaponized their femininity. It's a thing where, like, they are in the driver's seat the entire movie. Like, there is not a point where it's like Jane Russell and Marilyn Monroe are over their heads. They're like, don't worry, fellas. Like, we got this.
Yeah, that's why I love when they get to Paris and the line of credits taken from them and they don't have a place to stay, and Malone offers Dorothy, hey, I'm staying in this hotel over. And she's like, nope, don't need your hotel, don't need your help. We'll figure it out. We're going to work to pay off the money. And it's just, it's like, it's refreshing to see that versus, they're not damsels in distress. Like, they don't need help. They just need each other.
Oh, God. I'm sorry. I'm referencing a whole other part of the movie, but it's another funny bit with Malone and Dorothy and Monroe and Lorelei.
When they're trying to get the film from him?
And they're like, oh, there's only one place the film could possibly be. In his pants. Exactly. We're going to have to get his pants off of him. If we can't get his pants off, we don't deserve the name woman.
Yeah, that's another great one-liner of the movie.
And that's the thing. There's so many little one-liners, little quick gags, little quips.
And it's delivered by Monroe, because, Dorothy's the one that's, sharp, witty humor throughout the movie. And Lorelei's the one that, delivers that line. It was like, damn, Lorelei, true, but damn.
They know. It's the thing where I think it's a very nice movie where these, beautiful bombshells are like, yeah, we're fucking gorgeous. Like, yeah, we can kind of get anything we want out of these guys. It doesn't take that. It's not that hard. And I'm like, there's so few movies like that now.
No, and you see that even when they do succeed in getting his pants off, it's not done in an inappropriate way. They spill water on him. They take the pants off. I'm guessing he's a ship attendant.
The valet.
One of the valets comes to the room and he's like, oh, wow, what's going on here?
He's like, lucky you.
And then Dorothy, she goes and gets her robe, her pink frilly robe, puts it on Malone and says, can you please help him to his room? He's not feeling well. And he's out of the scene. Yeah. It's like, they got the film, and that's it. They completed the task that they were,
It's the thing where all the subtext is, oh, these women are plowing their way to success.
No.
But the actual text of the movie is, no, they're not. They're just flying quick and whatever. I just really like the movie. I think it's a very, very fun movie that I'm surprised at how, like, kind of, like, forward and, like, feminist it is, and how easily this aged like a fine wine.
I mean, and it's complete coincidence that we're recording it on International Women's Day. It just worked out that way.
Hey,
so,
happy International Women's Day.
Yeah. So all the women. But it kind of worked out that way. But yeah, I mean, I love that these women don't really need a man, but when they do want one, they want it for love.
Yeah, they want the best man possible for the job.
Yeah, and
or best man possible for the position.
For the position, yes, because you could be replaced at any time. And it's like, I love that, they have that confidence, they use their brains. It's very refreshing versus, I'm just in it for a good time until, it stops working and then we move on to the next.
Yeah, this is a very good movie. I very much enjoyed it.
It is. I'm glad you liked it. I hope more people watch this because it's a great film. It's from that golden age of Hollywood where we're still getting these great, over-the-top musicals.
These big Technicolor movies.
Yeah. We're, getting into CinemaScope. So, yeah, it's just a beautiful movie. There's just so many beautiful costumes in this movie, and you have beautiful women that, complement these costumes. But, it's like, because I'm used to, like, Edith Head. She was a big costume designer at the time. Mm-hmm. But I'm definitely going to look into William Trevia?
Yes, Trevia.
I'm definitely going to look into him and see what other movies he's worked on, because, I mean, man.
He knows how to make a dress.
That, and we've also seen 2 of his costumes in person.
Oh, really?
From this movie.
Oh, from the Academy Museum?
From the Academy Museum. They have 2 girls from Little Rock. Those costumes from the beginning of the movie, the red ones.
Oh, yeah.
Those are on display at the museum. And obviously I knew where they were from at the time. I mean, they're beautiful on the screen, but in person, they're just as beautiful. And it's like 70 years later, and they still look phenomenal.
They still hold up.
And I think that those costumes were actually saved by Debbie Reynolds.
Tying it all back, baby.
Yeah.
Tying it all back in.
I told you, Debbie Reynolds was, really pro, we need to preserve things from Hollywood. And I think she got a majority of, like, Marilyn's, big costumes from her movies. So, thank you, Debbie Reynolds.
All right, but I'm looking, and we are closing in on an hour of recording, and we usually like to keep this at about an hour. Do you have any final boo facts, any final thoughts you wanted to hit out on Gentlemen Prefer Blondes?
Well, it's a fact that we were talking about earlier. We were talking about the tiara. Mm-hmm. I mean, overall, the tiara scene is a cute scene.
Yeah.
Where she's,
trying to fit it around her neck.
Like a necklace.
Put it on your head. And she's like, I'm not dumb.
And then, Mrs. Beekman's like, no, you place it on your head. And you just see her eyes light up. And she's like, you do wear it on your head. And then, once she takes it back and she, takes off one of her cuffs and wraps her bracelet around it. And she's, modeling. Dorothy's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm just trying to see how it would look. And Dorothy's like, oh, God. Now we have a new obsession. The tiara. But the tiara in the movie was $15,000. That's what Dorothy says they need to make back to pay off the debtors that are working for the family. So in 2022 movie, or 2022, we're not even 2022. We're in 2023. Sorry.
In modern day money.
In modern day money, this tiara would be worth $150,000.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I would not want to have that lost on a cruise ship.
Yeah, I mean, in the 50s, 15 G's is a lot. But $150,000, my God, that's a lot for a tiara. But with that, an amazing movie. I give it 2 thumbs up. I hope more people watch this. This is one of those movies we can't let, get lost because there's so many great musicals from the 50s through now. Mm-hmm.
But there's also, like, out of all the Monroe movies, this is one of the good ones. This is a very good one.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a good amount of Monroe movies, but this is my number 1.
More than Some Like It Hot? Well, I guess that is a Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon movie more than Monroe. But, I agree with you. This is probably, the better Monroe movie out of the Monroe movies I've seen. Very, very funny. still holds up. It is so much fun. It is so good.
It's a beautiful movie.
Very pretty. And I'm really just like kind of flabbergasted at how just delightful it was watching it. I laughed. I actually laughed during the movie.
Wow.
Like a normal like, oh, that's like a good funny bit. But yeah, so 2 big thumbs up from me.
Awesome. But next week we're finishing up Musical March.
We are. It's your last movie.
Yeah, it's my last pick of the month. And coincidentally, there's a tie-in to Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend in this movie.
And if I know what movie you're talking about, there's also a tie-in to Sound of Music.
Yes, there is.
And it might be a tie-in to Singing in the Rain somewhere in there.
Possibly. There is just so much stuff mixed in this movie. And oddly enough, I saw this movie before I saw Gentleman Prefers Blondes. So I was very confused when I heard Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend in this movie. I'm like, what? But we're going to be watching Moulin Rouge next week.
Oh, Lord.
I am so excited. I'm pumped.
I mean, Baz Luhrmann is nominated for a Best Director and a Best Film category right now for Elvis.
Yes, he is.
And this is a big one. Moulin Rouge, this is still a movie I think people go and look back fondly on. This is one of those movies that is still like theater kid, like 101. Like, you have to love Moulin Rouge if you're going to be a theater kid in high school.
This changed a young boo's life, seeing this movie for the first time.
I mean, I've said this off mic, but Gentleman for Blondes has big boo energy in this.
Yeah.
Moulin Rouge, I imagine watching it again for the first time in like a decade is going to have huge boo energy.
Oh yeah, I think it's been maybe close to a decade that I haven't seen this movie.
Really?
Yeah, it's another one. I don't like to watch my favorites that often, and Moulin Rouge, man, I burned through that VHS, through that DVD. I was just watching it, listening to the soundtrack, so it's going to be interesting to come back after all this time.
But if you wanted to see that one, hear that one, where can they go?
Well, if you want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube.
You can go to our YouTube channel, The Film Vault. That is The Film Vault on YouTube. I know I'm kind of late on uploading things, but I swear that's going to change, and we're going to start uploading some more beautiful slideshows where you can like and comment and tell me that I am a hack editor. But if you wanted to follow us on social media, you can also go to
The Film Club Podcast on Instagram, where we post daily stories, trivia, upcoming episodes, and our random adventures.
And with that,
we'll see you next week at the Film Club.
Have a good week, everybody.